Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Olive Tree with me, Julia Fisher, which today comes to you from the 10th floor of an office block in Tel Aviv, where my guest is Daniella Stavi, a missionary with Jews for Jesus in Israel. She was born in Israel, went to school here, and served her mandatory 2 years in the army. Today, Daniella is leading a team to work amongst homeless people and those caught in drug and alcohol addiction. And, as you will hear, this is a big problem in Israeli society. I asked her to describe how and why she chose to work with Jews for Jesus.
My both parents also were born in Israel, and they found Jesus in different ways. All my relatives don't believe in Jesus yet. So I grew up in a Messianic Jewish family among secular community in Es Ziona. It's a small town very close by to Tel Aviv, 20 minutes away. And I have 3 brothers. I'm the second one, so they all follow Jesus.
You say your parents were born here. Where did their parents come from originally?
My mom's side came like 100 years ago from Yemen, and my dad's side like 60 years ago, maybe more, from Libya.
Now, there weren't that many Messianic believers in the land when they came, more as you grew up. Mm-hmm. So for them, they would have been quite isolated.
Yes, they had like really strong and welcomes community, so they had friends and a congregation. But yeah, as you said, like the family didn't accept it, and in general, it was always like to explain and to be different. Yeah.
So you grew up knowing what it is to be different. It takes a lot of strength to do that. So you went through school knowing you were different and then into the army. What sort of an experience was that for you?
So my process with God, so I grew up knowing God exists, and I had no doubt about Jesus being my savior. But still, I thought that God is always angry at me and is pretty far away. And the meaning of follow Jesus is to be perfect. Like, okay, he died for me, so I'm supposed to give back. It was a long process, but when I was 17 years old, I was in a position that, I actually cannot do that. I cannot be perfect. I cannot really satisfy him. So I kind of gave up. Like, God, if you want to talk to me, if you really want to be part of my life, you have to do something, because I can't. Nothing changed. Nothing like... Yeah, although like I knew what's written, I didn't really understand by myself in my heart. And I think that in that point, something really changed in me. Like God really entered and was like, I'm here because you can't, I came to die for you because you cannot die for yourself. You cannot save yourself. And I think that point, my life with Jesus started to understand, wow, I actually can be in relationship with God without being perfect. That's the meaning of it. And that's where I am changed and where I understand I'm loved by him. So it was before my army service and after high school, so just in between the 6 months of invest in my relationship with God. And that was almost 10 years ago.
So you went into the army very sure of who you were and what you believed. Mm-hmm. But the whole army experience, what was that like for you?
Very good. I was serving in the marching band. For my surprise, I thought I would do something different. But God, different ways, showed me like very clearly, you need to go there. And I think in that time, I started to feel alive when I shared the gospel by words. And it was totally important for me to share it with all my friends and commanders, officers, and even to do a lecture in front of all my unit. And it was like, that was my goal kind of in the army. Like, I'm here to serve the country, but first of all, God. And even the verse in John, it was John 17:4, I think. It was my main goal or vision while I was serving.
You're very bold. That's why you're a missionary with Jews for Jesus. And before we talk about the team that you're developing, let's just talk about what you've been doing over the summer, because you've been in India as part of a team following young Israelis who go travelling. What's the idea of this project?
So Masa project, part of it in the last 5 years, even before I was joining Just for Jesus. So every year we go to India or Peru or both with young adult believers from Israel. And we study and we have like training in Tel Aviv for 2 weeks. And then we go to one of the countries as a group. And we actually together want to explore and discover more Jesus through the book of Mark as a group, as followers of Jesus. And we invite travelers on the way to join us. So we're actually travelers by ourselves, and we go to the main places that Israelis like to go, because although Israelis like to travel, they like to be in groups together. So it's very funny to see them abroad and like in very far villages, but still like speaking Hebrew, eating burekas and hummus, and and stick together. So we join them, we get to know the country, the people, and they ask about us, our faith, and we invite them to our Bible studies or just having long conversation about who God is and who Jesus is.
It is a fact of life that the majority of young Israelis, when they finish the army, they want to travel, they want to get out and clear their heads. So you find that they're really open to meet with you and talk with you, and your group gets larger as you go.
Yes, true. And also they have lots of time while they're traveling, and they're more open, like they see like Hinduism, Buddhism, and different things. So they're like, oh, there's someone here that actually from my nation and believe in something else. So they ask questions.
You then came back, and the Jews for Jesus teams were very busy over the summer with a campaign in Jerusalem itself, a very big campaign. Were you part of that?
Yes, I was part of that. So I was part of a group that worked with addicts and homeless people in Jerusalem. We had 1 month to serve those people. And since it's only 1 month, which is not too long for this population, we developed a network with local believers to be part of those people's life in terms to see long-term impact as locals to the locals. So we volunteered in former homeless homes, so we renovated their homes. We volunteered in halfway houses, like governmental in Jerusalem, and also soup kitchen, or just in the street we met people. It was amazing. It was amazing to see the locals taking part and passion to see change in their city, and also to see those people we met, like how the relationship developed with them, and just to get to know them.
You must have a heart for people like this then, because that sort of work isn't easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. So I was studying social work in Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is in my heart, and also social work, but still also evangelism and sharing the gospel. So I'm very happy and like joyful to be part of Jews for Jesus doing this work, because for me it's combined. It combines very well.
Now you're going to build a team that will specifically work amongst homeless people and people who are suffering with addiction. So how big a challenge is that for you? What sort of people are you gathering around you?
Yeah, so we started a new team 2 weeks ago, and we want to continue the work we did in Jerusalem. So in Jerusalem, but also in Tel Aviv, because the need in Tel Aviv is also huge. But also through network, not missionaries or volunteers from different countries, but here in the city. I really believe we need to take care of our city, our poor people. And I want to help the local community to do that through like even 1 hour per week or 1 day per month. Something very simple and helpful, but from everyone to everyone.
We're sat here on the 10th floor of where you have your office, and you've just shown us the view from this window, which is looking down onto quite a poor part of Tel Aviv. And you say it is a very big problem. How big a problem is it?
I think just South Tel Aviv is just full of the addicts and prostitutes, and it's kind of comfortable place also for them, and I think also for society to have them in the same place. So I believe it's everywhere around Israel, but here it's very comfortable to get drugs. Tel Aviv is pretty warm, more than Jerusalem, so it's also comfortable in that way. And it's very seen, like you walk in the street and see all these people around, even like midday in the night. And we actually want to get to know the organization and groups that already work with the society and help them and be part of them, and then send them volunteers because they already do that. We not necessarily want to make something by our own, maybe in the future, but first to help in what we can.
One of the reasons for this program is to ask the question, so what's God doing here? There's so much talk about politics and conflict and trouble. We see that on our televisions all the time. But you're trying to make a difference. What do you believe God's heart is for Israel at this time?
In my eyes, I'm very small, and I really see in the last month how God changed people's heart, because since we started this project, and I didn't do much, but just people somehow heard about it and came to me like, oh, I actually really want to take care of that and be part of these kind of things, and can I join, can I help, Many people came to me in the last month, and I was overwhelmed, like, wow, God, you changed already people's heart, and now I'm here to coordinate that kind of to those people. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I really believe God opens people's heart to love those people, and that will be really helpful since we want to do this network based on volunteers.
You've been listening to Daniella, an engaging and courageous young Israeli woman with a big heart for the homeless and lost in Tel Aviv. The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work through our bi-monthly newsletter, including news about our upcoming tours, please either visit our website www.olivetreefund.org or write to me, Julia Fisher, OTRF, PO Box 402, Billingshurst, RH14 4BQ in the UK. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.